Hey guys, thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter of mine. It means the world to me because it lets me do what I love full time and hopefully provide you guys with some value. So I've given you all of my tools and you do not have to use them the same way that I do. This is meant to fit your style. This is meant for you to customize and do it however you want. You don't have to buy the same stocks that I do. I'm a dividend investor, so this is how I choose to invest. But hopefully these tools will make your life a little bit easier. And I know when you first click the file, if you're new to investing, it's gonna seem a little bit daunting, but I promise I'm gonna take you step by step. I'll take you by the hand and I'll show you exactly what I do. I'm gonna plug in a little bit of my portfolio, show you what each of these little columns do and how to use them, and we'll jump right in. And over the coming weeks and months and probably years, I'll be adding more and more tools to this. So this is all super exciting to me. Let's jump right in and I'll show you exactly how to use these tools. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do after you click the link, this page is gonna pop up, but you will not be able to edit it until you hit File and Make a Copy. It's gonna ask you to rename it, so let's go ahead and say My Portfolio. That works for me. And then once you hit OK, it's going to duplicate this page, and then I want you to open that and edit that one. Otherwise, it's not gonna let you edit this admin one, because if you change this master file, it's gonna change it for everybody the next time they click the link. So make sure you make that duplicate and make this page your own. So once you have this sitting in front of you, we're going to start entering and populating all the data. So I'm gonna open up my brokerage app. I use Robinhood, but I also use Webull and M1 Finance. Doesn't matter which one. Now, typically for this stuff, you'd have to enter all of this manually. But here's what's interesting about this spreadsheet that I love. So you're gonna go to the symbol, which is the B column, and you're going to enter the company symbol or the ticker symbol. So for me, the first one is Apple, which is AAPL. So we're gonna go ahead and enter AAPL. Actually, since I am really meticulous, I'm gonna do all caps because that's what I want. So AAPL, and watch this. I'm gonna hit enter, give it 2 seconds, bam, beautiful. Look at all this stuff, it just gets populated. Again, normally this would all be a manual process, but we're not done yet, because if I look at Apple, it shows on my brokerage that I have 32 shares of Apple. So when we go to the shares column, I'm gonna enter 32 and hit tab, and it's gonna ask me for the average cost. Now, average cost is right here with Robinhood. So that is $114 for me. So once I hit enter, and look at that, the rest just gets populated. So now let me take you through and explain exactly what just happened. So if we look at the company name in the column A, that gets automatically filled in. So it knows that AAPL is Apple. Okay, super easy. And then once we enter the shares, it also populates everything else like the market price. Okay, great. Right now we know that the market price of Apple is actually $208. Cool. And so that means the cost basis, which is if you add up all the shares at the price you bought it at, it cost me $3,648. Whatever it costs you, that's what it says right here. And the market value, which is in column G, is basically what your money is worth now. So F is what you put in, and G is now what it's worth. And in the next column, which is H, it'll show you the gain or the loss. Now, if it's a loss, it'll be highlighted in red. It should be. And if it's a gain, right now you can see it's in green. And the next column, it'll actually display just how much in terms of a percent it has gained. So hindsight is 2020. I wish I had put in all my money into Apple. Not really, don't do that. But look at that, 83% growth in the last probably whatever it was, 5 or 6 years that I've owned Apple now, which is amazing. And then in column J, it'll show me the annual dividend that I get from this stock, which is $3.08 per share. And the next column, this is amazing, frequency. Now it's gonna tell me how many times Apple is going to pay me this $3.08 throughout the year. 4 times denotes that it is quarterly. If you see 1, that is annually, 2 is semi-annually, etc. So I'll show you guys some more examples with some other stocks, and you'll see these numbers fluctuate. The next one is, of course, the EX date. That day, the stock share price will drop by the same amount that the dividend gets paid out. So if you own that stock on the EX date, let's say you bought it on this date where it says right now it is the 9th of August. So if you bought Apple on the 9th of August, it will not pay you the dividend for that period. It won't. So that means you need to own that stock the day before before then. And what's a cool feature about this is if you guys buy a stock, or let's say whenever that date is, let's say it's the 8th today, it's not the 8th today, but if it was, it would be highlighted in a different color to remind you if you want to buy more, or if you want to buy whatever stock, if it's on your watch list, then that is the day that you need to buy it. In other words, to simplify it, I don't know if this sounds complicated, but to simplify it, you need to buy it before, the day before that displayed date, okay? So the next column is record date or record date, and that's when it records for everybody when their dividend is. And the next one is the payment date, which is exactly when you will get paid, which is one of the coolest features I've always wanted to have on a spreadsheet. I actually use a very expensive service that tells me this stuff, but it also gives me a lot more data. But it's nice to have it for a spreadsheet where if it is, you know, when it's going to pay you. And so if it's that month, which in Apple's case it is, it's August 15th is when it paid me, it's actually going to be highlighted in yellow just like it is right now, which is super cool. I love that. So it reminds you like, hey, by the way, you're going to get paid by this stock and this stock this month. So that's kind of a nice thing to see exactly. And then the next column we have is the dividend yield. Great. And the next one is yield on cost, which is a little bit less important, but also kind of neat to see. So let's plug in the next share that I have, which is, I have CMI, Cummins. I think that's how you pronounce it. So CMI. So when I hit tab, and then how many shares do I have? I have 3 shares, okay? And then hit tab, and the average cost of it is $149.41. Okay, bam, hit tab, and the rest of it gets populated. So cool, I get to see some more stuff. So the rest of it is the same, except look at that, the gain and loss. It shows me that I have lost 42 pennies on this stock. Not a big deal, but it shows me that it's red. So it's kind of nice to see like, oh, this one's maybe underperforming. I just recently bought Cummins, so not a big deal. And again, it shows me the annual dividend. It shows me frequency, which is again 4, which is quarterly. It's gonna pay you 4 times throughout the year, and it's gonna pay me exactly $5.24 spread out 4 times. Remember, it's not gonna pay you $5 4 times, it's gonna pay you $5 divided by 4 basically. So you take that number and you divide it by whatever the next column says. And I actually have a column that's hidden in there that shows you that, but I just thought it was kind of a useless column, so I didn't include it as a visible feature. And I can see the payment date is actually next month for Cummins, which is nice. And so let's continue. This is super easy. Hope you guys can tell just how automated this process is. So AbbVie is the next one. So type in ABBV, and how many shares do I have? I have 20 shares, great. And at an average cost of $58.49. Cool. Alrighty, cool. So again, it tells me the rest of that stuff, and wow, would you look at that? It is also paying me this month. Great. Okay, next one. Johnson & Johnson, one of my favorite stocks. I believe they were just in a lawsuit recently where they lost. And believe it or not, the stock price went up after their lawsuit, which is hilarious because I think the investors thought they were going to get sued for more money, but they were only sued for a couple $100 million and not more. So it actually went up. Anyway, I have 70 shares of Johnson & Johnson, and that is the price for $99 is my average cost, which is amazing. I wish I could buy more at $99. The next company we can do is Aflac. So AFL, tab. Let's see how many shares I have. I have 70 shares of Aflac at $31.06. Bada bing. All right, so yep, cool. We got all that. Okay, great. These are all quarterly. Now, if it was monthly, it would show you 12. If it was semi-annually, let's do Disney. I believe they are semi-annually, DIS. All right. Cool. Yeah, okay, so I'm not gonna plug in the rest, but you guys can see the frequency changed to 2. So that is semi-annually. They're gonna pay $1.76 per share twice. So if we scroll to the bottom, I'll show you guys that this all totals out, and you can see my cost basis, my market value, how much I've gained or I've lost. Cool, I've gained 8,000 based on the few shares that I've entered. It'll actually show me my annual dividend as well, and that's across all these companies. So super, super neat process. And if we go to the next page, which is the diversification, I've made a little automatic pie chart where you guys can see exactly how diversified you are. Now, for example, if you're investing in some companies and you're like, oh, I have way too many shares of whatever Apple in comparison to all the other stuff. How many exactly? So it'll show you a pie chart right here, automatically generated for you, where it'll show you exactly what the percent is in relation to the rest of your portfolio. And depending on how you want to invest, my philosophy, and yours could be different, but you should probably aim for around no more than 5% diversity. If you have more than 5%, that's okay, but probably not too much more than 5%. So if you were to have 20 companies, exactly 20, you would be considered well diversified, and each one could represent 5% of your portfolio if you wanted to keep it fairly even. Now, because I invest very differently than most people, which is I'm super diversified. I have almost 100 companies right now, which a lot of people would say, Andre, you're way too diversified. But actually, when you invest into something like, say, an index fund, right, you're actually very diversified. You have several hundred companies in that index fund. So essentially, I've recreated my own index fund that I have a little bit more control over. So some of my companies will be 5%, but the majority of them will honestly just be 1 to 2% of my diversification. And that's great, because the way that I see it is, maybe you disagree with me, but the way I see it is, if one of my companies starts to fail and maybe disappears, then 1% to 2% of my income lost would not make or break or make the difference between me being able to pay my bills or not. But if I only had like 10 companies in my portfolio, which some people do, and to me that's terrifying. Like a lot of people have, Tesla in their portfolio because they think it's going to go to the moon. And well, what happens if Tesla goes bankrupt tomorrow? Well, those people could lose 25% or 50% of their entire income or their entire portfolio value just based on one company alone. And to me, that's just terrifying. And also the way I look at investing, I'm sorry I'm getting a little sidetracked, but a little bit of investing philosophy here is, the way I look at it is, when you go shopping, let's say at the mall, there's a lot of things on discount across many different stores, right? And you don't want to go out and buy 50 of them all at once, but sometimes you'll buy a pair of jeans because they're on discount, and another week you'll go buy yourself a pair of shoes, and then next year you'll go buy yourself a pair of socks. And before you know it, after 5 years, you have 30, 40, 50 very useful things that you've worn or you've used. You're gonna end up with a lot of things. And so that's kind of how I invest. I find opportunities in the market whenever they present themselves to me, and that's not always. So that's just the way I invest, because I think there's a lot of great companies in the stock market and they're not always on sale, but the ones that I do find on sale, if they're high quality, I will buy them. And just doing that over the last, I don't know how many years it's been, 5 or 6 years, that's made my portfolio really massive. And some people think over diversification is bad. I tend to disagree. I think we have so many automated tools like this that let us know, hey, look at this company. It might be, might not be doing as well. And so I don't have to sit through 100, quarterly statements from each company like that. I don't do that. That would be a waste of my time. So we live in the future, guys, that you don't have to do that. So anyway, getting a little sidetracked, that's some investment philosophy. But if we click the next button, the dividend income, you will see right here all of the stuff that you guys can plug in. So let's say, for example, when I go to Robinhood and I go to my account summary, and I will see my account statements right here. And let's say the last one I have is for July. So my July income was $484.07, not counting any dividend raises. So if I go to the July column, I can enter $484.07, hit enter, and would you look at that? It shows me all of these graphs. So for every month you guys enter, it's going to show you all these amazing differently colored bar graphs where you guys can see, like visually, literally see the growth year over year of your money growing. And I think that's really helpful and useful, because whether you're trying to lose weight or whether you're trying to gain muscle, whatever it is, it's just nice to see a visual trajectory of like what's going on with your money. And it helps me stay the course, especially when the economy is going to dip. It hasn't yet, but when it does, it's going to still be nice to see like the progress that I have. Over the coming weeks and months, I'm sure I'll be adding a lot more calculators and tools for retirement and all the other stuff that I use. And probably expense sheets and income sheets and all this super useful stuff. But anyway, love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you got something out of it. Peace out.